We have a massive update on New York Knicks trade target Brook Lopez, and we have to talk about it. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video as we always do, because the Bucks general manager gave a massive update on Brook Lopez and his future with the Milwaukee Bucks. It's been a little bit up in the air over the past few weeks, and there's been thoughts that maybe since the Bucks are a second apron team, they might be kind of looking to cut some cap space. But let's just jump into it and take a look. Now, as Bucks GM Jon Horst said, I don't typically talk about any of this stuff with the media, but I will say, because Brook is so core to who we are, we have zero intentions of trading him, and this continues, and he says that people are always going to speculate and have conversations, and they'll think that they know what they're talking about, but at the end of the day, we have zero interest or intention of trading Brook Lopez. He's a core part of our team. We've got a starting group now that we think is as good as anybody, and we look forward to seeing how this team plays throughout the year. Now, obviously, for all of us who are in that Brook Lopez hive, it is a bummer to see that a guy who would fit so well for 18 minutes a night as Mitchell Robinson's backup will obviously not be joining the Knicks. I don't think this is the most shocking news ever. I know this has been something that a lot of Knicks fans have talked about because we've seen just the Bucks being a second apron team. We've seen a world where they move forwards with Bobby Portis, who's much younger, and try to save some money by getting rid of Brook Lopez. But at the end of the day, if the Knicks wanted to trade for Brook Lopez, the money still becomes an issue. When you look at Brook, he's making $23 million a year. The Knicks really don't have too many salaries to match when you consider that. So it kind of makes things a little wonky. Now, obviously, getting Lopez, he would have fit on the Knicks so well. It's been reported that the Knicks kind of are interested in the idea of making a five-out team that can counter the Boston Celtics. Now, that was brought to us by CP the Franchise, who mentioned the fact that the Knicks were interested in Karl-Anthony Towns, at least to a degree where you look at things and think, okay, well, this is how we match the five-out. Obviously, again, would have been a strange fit. It would have been hard to imagine how a Towns trade works out because it probably would have costed Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and Deuce McBride just to make the contracts work alone. And obviously, if you're trading Julius Randle, someone who's better than Karl-Anthony Towns, along with Mitchell Robinson, who's the anchor of your defense, and then also Deuce McBride, one of your best young players, then you have to get so much more in comparison than just in return than just Karl-Anthony Towns. You need draft picks. You need someone else who's cheap enough to make the money work. And I don't really think the Timberwolves have anyone of true value who's that cheap because they are in that situation where outside of Rob Dillingham, who they're not going to trade in some Karl-Anthony Towns trade, there's no one really of that much interest that the Knicks can really get. So I don't think the Cat thing, well, I think it's real, but I don't think the Cat thing is ever going to happen also. And when you look at this, Brook Lopez is just another guy similar to Karl-Anthony Towns in the fact that he can shoot threes at a high efficiency. Not as high as Towns. Towns is a better shooter, obviously. But Brook is a good three-point shooter. He's also a great low-block defender, even into his old age. I'm shocked he was able to come back from that neck injury and look as good as he is. But Brook has really not slowed down that much in these last few years. Yeah, he's not the player he was on Brooklyn. We know that. But it's been a while since he was on the Nets, putting up over 20 points per game, being an all-star one year. And now where he is, he's a solid low-block defender who can hit threes, which is still a very valuable thing for a team to have. Now, Brook Lopez, it would have been such a nice fit. You know he's great for the energy and the vibe of everything. So it would have been awesome to see Brook on the Knicks. I mean, gives you great insurance for Mitchell Robinson. The Knicks have been reported to being known that they don't really have much interest in playing Jericho Sims in a rotational spot. So I think that's kind of out of the question. Also, I did a whole video kind of breaking that down. You can go check that out. But the audio does suck. My apologies there. I have the same computer knowledge as Abraham Lincoln. So that is really what went down there. I didn't even notice there was a problem until the comments. So shout out to all you guys for being really cool about it. Obviously, that's not going to happen again. Unless it's happening on this video and I'm just too stupid to realize. I'm pretty sure it's not. I checked. I did a mic test. But look, here's the deal. they're not getting Brook Lopez. I never thought they were going to get Brook Lopez. The problem is the money. He makes $23 million per year. The Knicks are over the first apron. The Bucks are over the second apron. Do you realize how hard it is for two teams like that to make a trade with each other? They have to make the money literally even as hell. And the only way to do that is to find a player who is making good enough money and then add it on to what Brook Lopez is making. Unless you want to trade Mikal Bridges. Obviously you don't. That's it. That's the one guy who makes $23 million on the Knicks. So, obviously that's not happening. Someone's going to be like, Chris, why would you suggest that? I didn't. I'm just using him as a reference. But I realized that in my head. I realized someone's going to mention it. No. All I'm saying is the only guy who makes $23 million on the Knicks. So, you look to one guy. You look to Precious Achiuwa. And here is why you look to Precious Achiuwa specifically. Because the man is putting up good enough numbers where you can actually overpay him enough money to where you can kind of work out a trade, but then you'd have to pay Precious literally $21 million for it to work and then also give Jericho Sims. That's the problem. And this is not worth $21 million. I think Precious is going to get somewhere around the $8 million range. I don't think he's going to get an extra $13 million on top of that. Now, also, Fred Katz mentioned, because of quirks in the new collective bargaining agreement, re-signing Achiuwa to an above-market contract, even if he couldn't score more than a minimum salary at the moment, could give the Knicks more trade options come the deadline, because then you can operate with more teams. You don't have to focus on just getting smaller contracts. If you give Precious somewhere around that $8 million range, as Fred Katz has suggested, then he essentially becomes a human trade exception, and this move has grown in popularity with teams above the first or second apron. You overpay a guy who's still tradable, like Achiuwa, because he's young, and then you give him a short-term contract worth a lot of money, so it's a very tradable deal. So then you get him for $8 million or something. Then you could talk to Charlotte about Nick Richards or something like that, and then you kind of have something figured out there. Precious is going to end up back on the Knicks, which shocks me. I was sure the man was leaving in free agency, but not anymore, as the New York Knicks will be bringing him back to trade him in February, unless they believe in the 6'8 center. And we saw his numbers, 7.5 and 6.5. Not bad at all for a backup center. Don't get me wrong. I just think he's more of a power forward than a center. He's really a tweener. He could do either. He's a great undersized center. Great kind of classical power forward almost. The man is versatile. He's a good defender, both on the perimeter and on the low block. Held Joel Embiid to 1 point. We don't really still need this graphic up. He held Joel Embiid to 1 point in the fourth quarter of a key playoff game between the Knicks and the 76ers. The Knicks did so well in that playoff series that 76ers fans still won't stop talking about it on Twitter. Now, when you look at everything, yeah, Precious is going to get more money from the Knicks than we would imagine. And I'm going to make a video on that, so make sure you're subscribed because it's going to happen soon, believe me. And on top of that, you can then move it with Jericho Sims' contract if you feel so inclined to. Take one of Dimitrios Kapinistev or Ariel Hukporti and put him on the full-time roster. You have a new third-string center. I'd prefer Demetrio. I'm following that Summer League hype, I won't lie. And then you get a different backup. You still have Mitch. Then you got 3 great centers anyway. And you can move Jericho's money, that $2 million, on top of Precious's around $8 million. You got $10 million to work with in a trade. 2 young pieces. That's something. You have second-round picks to work with. That's why the Knicks are not making a trade for a backup center right now, because it'll basically put them in a situation where they're stuck with this roster, and if they see a different problem, they cannot change it. So they're going to have to kind of wait it out, which is fine. I think Precious can easily be a backup center for the first few months of a season. I'm really not concerned about that at all, especially because Jericho is working very hard to become a better player. He's shooting jump shots a lot. Hopefully he comes out and can actually hit them. That'd be awesome to see. Obviously, he's not going to get a ton of attempts with Tibbs coaching him, but it is something to mention. Unfortunately, the Knicks probably won't be getting Brook Lopez, that means, which is kind of a bummer, don't get me wrong. But Brook Lopez did have a good season last year. He put up 12.5 points per game with 5 rebounds, blocked 2.5 shots per game, also got a steal. Same amount of blocks and steals exactly as Walker Kessler, and he also shoots 36% from 3. Now, obviously, he's older, which means he probably costs even less. Shoots over 40% on corner threes. Every single one of his threes was assisted last year, and over half his shots have become three-pointers. Brook is now a stretch big who also plays phenomenal defense. I would love this trade by the New York Knicks. It's just, essentially it is impossible to pull off. And that's the real tough situation there. But I do want to hear from you guys. Who should they go for? It seems like it's not Brook, so let me know. Are you cool with the idea of Precious Achiuwa coming back for the first few months? I want to hear from you all in the comments. Let me know down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Feel free to make fun of me for my bad audio in the last video or just anything else you feel like making fun of me for. The comments are good, and I like them, good or bad. They're fun. So, guys, have a great day, and go Knicks. It's Monday. Let's tackle this week, everyone. Let's go. Go Knicks.